Welcome to WholeCEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in weight loss, mindset, and business. Learn our top tips to set you up for success, so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, and feel unstoppable. Welcome to WholeCEO with Lisa G. I'm super excited today. We've got Adam Mendler in the house. Adam Mendler is an entrepreneur, public speaker, thought leader, CEO of the Veloz Group, contributor to Forbes, Inc., Thrive, host of a podcast, 30-minute mentors with top CEOs, leaders, athletes, celebrities. He writes in Forbes, Inc. and HuffPost with more than 500 interviews with top leaders. He's a keynote speaker. Adam has worked for D.E. Shaw and Company, Credit Suisse, William Morris Endeavor, Universal Pictures, TWC Sports Management, and on successful presidential primary campaign. So Adam, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. Thank you for coming.
Lisa, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Excited to be here and excited to dive right in.
All right, well, I want to dive right in with the content. That what lessons have you learned from your journey about being unstoppable?
Well, I think just being here on your podcast right now is a testament to not being able to be stopped. Because today, just as an example for listeners, was such a busy day, as all days are. And when you're an entrepreneur, you have so much going on over the course of your day. In my case, I am involved in a number of different businesses. I have an office furniture company. We're the leading sellers in the United States of refurbished brand name office chairs, such as the chair that I'm sitting in. So I had some stuff on that business. I had some stuff related to my media work, my interview series. I was actually at a virtual conference this morning. I had a couple of meetings related to something I'm involved in at USC. Just got off of a phone call before this podcast with a wife of a friend of mine to talk about a podcast that she's starting and have a dinner right after this. So I apologize for not being able to shave, but all the way in between, I did get a workout in. So I think it's important that no matter what you have going on, to just push forward, to prioritize, to understand what's important to you. Lisa, I know that you are so focused on staying healthy, staying fit, and no matter how busy it was today, I needed to make sure that I got my workout in, and I needed to make sure that we got our time in today because I wanted to spend time with you and spend time with your listeners.
Well, I'm really appreciating that. I know that you're a man of your word, and I value that you keep your word and your commitments. And I value that, and I demand that of my clients as well. And I really enjoy listening to the way that you mentor people and you talk to such great world leaders. How important do you think it is to be open-minded?
Wow, so important. I just think that by virtue of the question in and of itself, I think we have our answer for listeners because all too often leaders or people in leadership positions think they know it all. And what I've found in my experience interviewing, as you mentioned, more than 500 of the most successful leaders in the country, is the most successful leaders are the leaders who know that they don't know everything. And in fact, they're continually trying to learn, continually trying to grow, continually trying to expand their base of knowledge around all areas in which they can grow. And even building on that, Lisa, a theme that you'll hear me talk about on my podcast that you'll see in some of the written interviews is the importance of surrounding yourself with good people because not only is it important for you to continually learn and continually grow, but you want to have people around you who can help you make good decisions, who can help arm you with the information and can help arm you with the data that you're going to need to make informed decisions. As a leader, it's going to be on you to make difficult decisions, but you want to be able to make informed decisions. And the only way you can do that is by surrounding yourself with the right people and by listening. Great leaders are great listeners.
I love that. I love that when people go to a meeting to be a leader and they want to jump in with my idea isn't as good of an idea of a leader to me as somebody who wants to listen first and then speak. Being more self-aware, isn't that very important too?
Lisa, you brought up two amazing points that the truth is we could not only spend this entire podcast on, but we could probably spend this entire week on. And we'll just spend a couple of minutes on them. But the first point you made is the importance of asking questions. And something that I try to do is in the meetings that I'm involved in, particularly the meetings that I'm leading, I try to ask questions rather than be the one doing the talking. Yes, I might be the leader and I might be the one that people are turning to and expecting answers from. But how am I going to learn anything? How am I going to come to the best decision possible if it's just me talking? I'm never going to grow that way. I'm never going to improve that way. I'm never going to get to the best information that way. What I want to do is I want to try to probe the people around me and get the best that I can out of everyone on my team. And from there, while listening actively, try to come to an informed decision.
I love
Um,
that.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just saying it's just such a more modern style of leadership that people are being forced into these days with all the pivots we've had to make in work.
Yeah, and I, I just could not agree with you more. Well said, Lisa. You and I are on the same page, 110%.
Well, another thing I've also heard you speak about that I love to speak about and talk about all the time is having a winning mindset. So can you define what you mean by that too?
Yeah, it's a question that I ask a lot of my guests, and I've asked this question to Olympic athletes. I've asked this question to Fortune 500 CEOs, and the answers I receive and that listeners hear are interesting. The answer that I would give you is it really comes down to the power of positive thinking. So much of our success starts with how we think about success and how we think about our ability to succeed. I give a talk to audiences called Lessons from America's Top Leaders. And one of those lessons that I share is the importance of visualizing success because all too often we walk into situations with a defeatist mindset. We look at the negative.
Right.
Unfortunately, too many of us have a glass half empty attitude. And to really enjoy success, it starts with having a can do mindset, having a winning attitude,
Hmm.
understanding that you can get to yes. It's just a matter of being willing to get to yes.
I love that. And I just wanted to ask you, I know it's just a short interview here, but I wanted to know, is there any mistakes that you've made or that people you've interviewed that have made along the way that you could share some tidbits of wisdom with us on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are just too many. I mean, a common theme among not only people who I've interviewed, but a common theme, certainly in my journey, is the importance of learning from mistakes, learning from failures. We all fail. And I'll just share with listeners. When I was in business school, I took a class taught by the former mayor of Los Angeles, Richard Riordan. And he had a great line, which he would tell us time and time again: only a mediocre person never makes a mistake. If you're too afraid to fail, you're too afraid to achieve anything of any consequence. And it's extremely important for anyone listening to this podcast to have a mindset that allows you to go out and do big things. And if you make a mistake, first things first, acknowledge that it happened. Don't pretend like it didn't happen because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all fail. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. We make mistakes daily, maybe even hourly. And it's a matter of learning from our mistakes, using them as opportunities to grow. I'll share a little tidbit from one of the guests on my podcast. I interviewed the then CEO of Waze, Noam Bardeen. And one of the things that he shared that I thought was interesting is that when he was in the Israeli army, not only did they study the failures and mistakes that were evident, such as losing a battle or a mission that didn't work out, but even in the victories, they would go back and study what went wrong, what could have gone better. And I think that when you think about sports, you think about when a team wins, it's time to go out and celebrate, and when a team loses, it's time to go back and study the film. And Noam's point was, even when you win, you need to go back and study the film and understand what you do better the next time.
I love that about Kobe Bryant. When I read so much about him and studied so much about Kobe and his Mamba mindset, I love the fact that he was so driven and he just would always watch the film after every game his whole career. Such an important thing to do.
Yeah, and I've heard. I'd never had the chance to meet Kobe. I've interviewed a number of NBA Hall of Famers for my podcast. Kobe is someone who I never got the chance to know, but growing up in LA, I've watched however many tens of thousands of hours of Kobe and Shaq and Kobe and Pau and lots of Kobe. And one of the things that anyone who knows anything about Kobe can tell you is that there was no one more dedicated to his craft than Kobe. Kobe was someone who, no matter what time of day, was focused on figuring out how to get better, was always in the gym, was always in the film room, was talking to people who could provide him with insights into how he could improve his performance on the court, off the court. And that's a mindset, Lisa, to your point, that all of us should try to think about applying to improving whatever it is that we're trying to do to be successful in our careers and in our lives.
Well, I admire you so much. I was watching some of your podcasts, listening to some of your interviews because you've been at this game longer than me. So just watching you as a podcaster has brought me to the next level. Do you have any final words of wisdom for our audience about being unstoppable?
Well, Lisa, thank you. I'm really flattered by that. And I'll really take it back to the point that you just made, which is I think that anyone listening to this podcast is on the right track because it starts with having a growth mindset. And I mentioned that one of the key characteristics of a highly successful leader is being dedicated to growth, uh, lifelong learning, essential to successful leadership. And something that I tell audiences is we all learn differently. So, I have a podcast, 30-Minute Mentors, which Lisa, you've so generously talked about. And for listeners who love podcasts and love learning through podcasts, maybe you could become a better leader. Maybe you could become more successful in your lives and your careers by listening to a podcast like mine or listening to a podcast like Lisa's or listening to both. But maybe your way of learning isn't by listening to a podcast. Maybe your way of learning is by picking up a book. Maybe it's your way of learning is the same way of learning that aligns with how I learn, which is by talking to people around me who know more than I do. And you should do that. Go out and talk to the smartest people you know about subjects that you want to learn about. So I think it starts with wanting to learn, being dedicated to continuing to grow, understanding how you learn best, and then just going out and doing it.
Adam Mendler, you are a rock star. Thank you for coming to WholeCEO with Lisa G. Where can people find you?
Lisa, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I regret that it was a relatively short session, but this has just been so much fun. Anyone interested could find me pretty easily. It's just my name, Adam Mendler. So you can go to adammendler.com. You can find me on social media, at Adam Mendler on Instagram, at Adam Mendler on Twitter. My podcast, 30-Minute Mentors, is all spelled out. The word 30-Minute Mentors, you can find that on every podcasting app. So whatever app you're listening to this great podcast on, or you can go to 30minutementors.com. Thanks again, Lisa. This was awesome.
Thanks, Adam.